Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. On today's episode of Expedition Homestead, we're going to be showing you how to create the most beautiful and flourishing dahlia flowers possible using the simple method of pinching. If you've never used this technique while growing your dahlias, I highly recommend that this be the year you start. Make sure you get to it soon before it's too late. I vividly remember the very first time that I saw a dahlia tuber being dug up. It was in my mother-in-law's garden. She had been flower gardening for many years. In fact, most of her life she had been flower gardening, and dahlias were one of her favorite. When she dug up that tuber, no pun intended, it definitely sprouted some curiosity in me. I thought it was so cool that this mangy looking thing would be dug up from the soil, stored over winter, in a cold, dark place. It would dry out, seemingly having no life left, and then could be popped back into the ground again in the spring to produce the most beautiful flowers that we have available throughout the floral space. I think dahlia flowers are extremely beautiful, and they are one of my favorite flowers to grow. And we're gonna get more and more into them in our flower gardens in the future here, just because I think they are so much fun to grow. The more and more I looked into dahlia growing, the more and more I found out that there's a lot of cool different tips and techniques that you can use and I can use when growing dahlias to make sure that we grow the most beautiful flowers we can. These couple little tricks and tips are very simple, and I hope to include them in a lot of my future videos when growing dahlias. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about pinching the tips of the dahlia. I understand right now you, the viewer, if you've watched several videos or read a few articles online, might be confused because I know there's a couple of different ways that people recommend doing this, and I am here to set the record straight on which one you should do, or if maybe both of them are okay. Now, the next shots that we're going to get in the garden here are going to show a ton of old dandelions, and I want you to wrap your head around why I have so many dandelions in my garden and in my yard, in my backyard here. Number one, we do no mow May, so I am absolutely not ashamed to have a ton of dandelions growing wherever we can grow them. Number two, we feed the chickens the dandelions that sprout up in the yard. Well, it's official. They want some more dandelions here. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So right here is one of our dahlias. This is an AC rosebud, but behind it, all of these dandelions and weeds, quote unquote. All I'm gonna do, go in here. I got it, I'm coming. And there they go. So yeah, this whole area behind my dahlias, I will talk about in a future video on how I manage the weeds selectively to keep up the most beautiful flowering weeds that we have, like all of the dandelions, the clovers that are growing, the wild violets, and so many others. So that quick story is just to show you all, don't get shocked by what you see in the background of the videos here. I grow a lot of these plants intentionally. I absolutely hate grass. My wife and I were playing a game last night, and in the game, one of the cards asked, what is an unpopular opinion or the most unpopular opinion that I hold? And that has got to be it. The fact that I wish grass just did not exist whatsoever. I wish that instead of growing grass, we could grow clover or wildflowers or all sorts of things, vegetables in our front yard. If we could do that, instead of growing a bunch of grass, I think we would live in a different world, ladies and gentlemen. That being said, let's get to pinching our dahlia flowers. Although I will say, if you've got stuff like thistle growing, you should definitely pinch that out and make sure that it doesn't get too big in the garden. All right, right here we have an AC rosebud dahlia, and it is about maybe 14 inches tall at this point. You can use this technique pinching off technique for your dahlias once they are 12 to 18 inches tall. That is the ideal time to do them. Here's another dahlia that would be a prime candidate for pinching, and one dahlia that would not be quite ready because it's only about 8 inches off the ground right now. Looking at our very first dahlia, this one is about 12 inches tall. You can see that we've got this very first developing set of leaves right up at the top. Then we have a set of leaves below it, a set there, and another set here. The two methods that you've probably seen when pinching dahlias is either cutting down here by the third set of leaves, or simply going at the very top of the plant and pinching off that very top bud. That first leaf set is now pinched off. What this is going to do is essentially it's going to push out growth from these leaf sets, and we're going to see it develop stems that are going to bush out this dahlia instead of growing straight up. Now here is our second dahlia that we're going to pinch back. This one is actually already starting to develop little leaf sets that are coming off of the side of the plant here. This is the point where I'm going to show you the other method that you've probably seen online, which is taking a shears or scissors and going down to a lower leaf set and cutting it off just like that. So now we cut off a larger portion of this dahlia instead of just pinching off this top piece just like that, which is what we did in the first video. Your resulting dahlia would look a little something like this, or like this if you just pinched off the top buds. Both of these methods work just fine. The only con to one of them is if you were using a pruning shears. You could tell that that stem was hollow. So we would have to avoid getting too much moisture for a long period of time, dirt, debris, etc. in that stem, because ultimately that has a possibility of rotting out. Although this is pretty rare and usually does not happen, it can happen. So I want to make sure that you are aware of that possibility if you go with that method, which is why typically now that I'm growing dahlias on a regular basis, I will usually just pinch off the top sets of leaves so I don't have to worry about that extra damage that could happen to them. I hope your dahlias grow big and beautiful this year when using this technique. Again, when we pinch off the top, what that's doing is it's bushing out the plant. It's going to create more heads, more flowers, a more beautiful show for us in the garden, which ultimately that is what we're looking for. I just want to take a second and thank you all so much for watching. You are the greatest. I absolutely love the community of gardeners around the world that we're building. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. If you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and of course comment for the algorithm, because we all know the algorithm rules all. So if you want more gardening videos like mine, do whatever you can to help support the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. Happy gardening, and we'll see you in the next episode.